Alrighty. I guess I'm gonna put this out as the banking crisis continues. I guess that'll be the name of this video. I want to tell you a little thing that happened this week. A person that I personally know. She told her mom, "Listen, because of all this nonsense going on, why don't you just take some cash out of the bank to keep it at home?" And she was like, "Why? You know, American banks are still safe and stable." So she did what her daughter told her, and she went to the bank and took out some cash. You'll understand why I'm getting to this. Well, she went to the bank to take out the cash. Little old lady turns around, a couple of $100 only. When she was taking the money out, the bank asked her, "Would you be taking more money out again?" Red flag 1. And she's like, "No, is there a problem?" "No, there's not a problem. It's just, we believe it's better to keep your money at the bank." Red flag 2. And then the weird one, is the last question. "Will you be coming back to take more money later on?" Red flag 3. When you have a major bank telling a little old lady whether she plans to take out more money today, telling her it's safer to keep money in the bank, and then the third one, "Are you coming back in a couple of days to get more money out?" There's a big fucking problem. Big problem. Because I think the American people, we've become too. I'll give you an example. I don't know. This is us. The next tragedy, the next economic meltdown. That's how we are. That's our attention span right now. There was a major banking crisis where people were lined up to take cash out. There's all kinds of craziness happening. I mean, I can go on and on. You know this. And at the end of the day, next story. But the crisis is still here. And it's not just because of I can go into certain things. I can go into tons of stuff that's being written off and all kinds of crisis stuff or whatever. And then the closer and closer we are now with this Fed money. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, the controls on it, that obviously the digital dollar is nothing more than a smart contract. They will tell you where you can shop, where you can use your money, how much money you can have. They're going to do all that. You don't believe me? Trust me, I was around when they created all that nonsense. Hand to sweet baby Jesus himself, I was in the area where all this was being created. Think about it. When I hear this shit, my red flag is going off. That's why I'm going to give you a little bit of advice. For all the people that don't want to participate in all that world, keep a very close eye on the state of Florida. Because the state of Florida is about to pass legislation not allowing the central bank digital currency to operate within its borders. That means that the banks there that have state charters will not be able to convert dollars into central bank digital currency stuff. You have to understand, I am looking at that very carefully. And if Florida does enact that, as any money person would do, they would become a state resident there and bank there. Why? Because the banks there will suffer repercussions if they try to swap out your money. I don't know how Florida is going to turn around and do that scenario. I know that a couple of years back, South Carolina passed legislation to, mint gold. I know that there's a couple of other states like Tennessee that are strong in it. And I can tell you that all the southern states, they're going to resist that. People need to start thinking where you put your money. It used to be in the old days, you keep your money offshore overseas. You could forget that one, okay? It's going to have to be now in the southern states. Texas is also going to be doing that as well. But keep an eye on that, because that little old lady, that sweet lady, let me tell you something. You don't want to be that person at the bank. You're not even going to go to the bank. They're not even going to need banks anymore. They're going to be able to just tell you yes or no based on this. If you think that's not possible, Trust me. Bad economies means massive layoffs. Then you have mass automation, robotics coming in. And at the end of the day, it's very simple to basically give you a no person to deal with. You understand? We're at that stage right now. So I want to get people to understand. You have to prepare for what's coming, because while you're enjoying your Easter weekend, whatever, those motherfuckers are working round the clock at this. Let me tell you something interesting. Unfortunately, I gotta quote somebody who was a freaking, whatever, a big time fucking criminal on this. I'm not even gonna say his name, but nonetheless, when you motherfuckers are busy walking around the fucking city thinking that everything is just fine and dandy, those motherfuckers have a salary, a healthy salary, working against you. And they're working round the clock with an unlimited budget. So please understand, don't think that this just doesn't exist anymore. Oh, the crisis, SVB, saying that was back then. No, it's not. We're in the heart of it. But remember, we live in a world where all media covers everything up. And I'm gonna tell you something, I'm gonna put it out there. I don't give a fuck if you're a post office worker, a Fed, a cop, a judge, a doctor, a bus driver. You're all in the same boat. You're all in the same boat. Go back to Russia when the wall came down and the government collapsed. Everybody was on equal standing. Nobody had anything, unless you were one of the people that were preparing for that. Same thing in Argentina. When Argentina collapsed, there were people that were banking outside of Argentina. There were people that had other currencies. There were people that held gold and silver. Why? Because they saw the writing on the wall. Our dollar is not crashing because our dollar is worthless. What it is, the conditions have been put in place to make our dollar become worthless. And they're going to change the system on us. I will leave you this on Easter Sunday. They're going to change the money and the worth of the money to cheat the people. And I'm telling you to prepare for it, because I know how fast projects take. Like, if I was to think about some type of a tech project, I can more or less in my head workflow with the whole thing. This shit has been in the works for years with massive budgets. Please, just take a little bit of time to map out what your plan will be. If they're taking unlimited budgets and years to work against you and your family, at least take a couple of hours to think about what would I do to protect me, my family, my money. Just give me that on Easter. That's it, motherfuckers. Giant love.